The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're mine. They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead. That's what it sounded like. Good, you know who I am. And you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? Watching us right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr. With me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
Good evening, misfits, chickadees, monster lovers, demon hunters. How's your fucking night?
Tonight's episode is going to be an interesting one. Old boy has been watching that show Fallout, and he's kind of obsessed with games as well. And so tonight we're going to take a look at what an actual Mad Max type of situation would really look like. In this situation, the world has had some sort of catastrophe. We don't know what it is. And society has essentially broken down. So what you're left with is anarchy and just roving bands of gangs, trying to get resources, etc. So we're going to kind of take a look at that tonight and see what it would actually look like. And then old boy's going to start this one off. And when he gets done, I'll be back. And when I get back, I'm going to kind of break down for you how to actually survive one of those kind of situations, what your priorities need to be, how to find food, how to find shelter, how to keep yourself safe. I think that's probably the best way I can spend my time on this one, is to give you some good concrete information on how you can actually survive a post-apocalypse type situation. So with that being said, I'm going to throw over to old boy, and then I'll be back after he's done. Old boy, go ahead, brother.
I hope you guys are ready for this show. It's going to be really great. I know you guys, if you're an Xbox fan like me, I'm a big Xbox fan, and so is James. If you're a big fan of Fallout, that's what we're going to be talking about, stuff like that, not just Fallout, Borderlands 2, Mad Max kind of situation. If you guys, I love the Mad Max. I know there's a new Mad Max movie coming out in the at the end, almost the end of the month. That being said, what do you think about Fallout? Do you think that's a possibility? That's what we're going to do the show about, stuff like that happening. Apocalyptic kind of world, kind of Fallout kind of world. I love the show. We were going to talk about the show too, and I think it's a wonderful show. I played the game, so and the show was like, wow, it's really good, and they really did a good job. I know the Borderlands movie's coming out too. I can't wait for that. I love the Borderlands movie games too. If you guys have played that, it's kind of like the Mad Max, kind of apocalyptic, kind of like Fallout. Fallout's just an RPG. And, Borderlands kind of is, but it's like you could play up to 4 people. It's different company, But I like the game too. But, it's far out there, just like Mad Max. I'm a big fan of the Mad Max and the apocalyptic movies, and I've always kind of liked that. Not just the zombie, because I like The Last of Us, but that's a whole nother story. I would love to do shows about those too. Remember, we're not just going to do shows about paranormal and stuff like that every time, guys. We got to do something different here and there. It is on that sci-fi, kind of like monsters and all that kind of stuff, mutants. But I actually love the show. I've been watching I wait for my wife to get home because she works and comes home 3 days out of the week in a half days. And then she goes to work for 3.5. Then she comes back up here for almost 4 days. Sorry. So we're almost done, but the show is great. Wonderful show. I really enjoy it. So does she. Love the actors in it. Just a great show. People just shot their nukes off to every country. Or, we can get into the alien thing in a minute, but I will. What would you do? What if the rich and people who had money could go underground, and they did, like, 31 and 42 and all that, so, down in their little camps. And, would you do that? What would you do in that situation? Would you be one of these people trying to get in these vaults? Like Vault 31, there's Vault 33, there's all kinds of different vaults in the games too. And 32 got, they're finding out there's some bullshit going on, they're doing, some scandalous shit. And then you see like these weird creatures from 31, and and you look at it, the radiation turned people. They one eye, and then some people had different ears on their nose and face. It was just weird. And then you have the ghoul, and some of the fish is mutated. There's going to be other monsters coming soon. I know that. It would be a crazy thing, Think about it. Look what happened in Chernobyl. There's stuff they're seeing, like giant muted fish with different legs and all that, and not like legs, but like 6 or 7 fins, 2 or 3 eyes, 3 or 4 eyes. There was one thing running around with no head or a shrunken head. There's weird wolves and dogs and cat. There's all kinds of weird creatures they've seen out there. And that the elephant foot down in Chernobyl, it's still leaking. It looks like a giant thing of toxic waste. But you can't even, it's so much radiation. Like the one guy went there for like 5 minutes and they died later on because they'll kill you. You're screwed. You can only be down there for like a minute or two. There's so much radiation. It looks like a giant foot. I think we did a show about that. But that's what would happen in this kind of world. So how would you survive? I would do what I would do anyway. I've been growing up all my life about the world coming to an end one day. Everybody, either religious, or my grandfather was kind of a survivalist. James is kind of like that too, a survivalist. I kind of am too. If I have to, I have to. You got to do what you got to do. But you got to realize when that world comes, you're going to have to do things to protect your family and loved ones and friends, or whoever the group of people. And this is where people always make the mistake. Just like in zombie movies. I understand it's very hard. It's very damn hard to kill somebody you loved. And they turn into a mutant or something happens. What would you do? This is crazy. I told my wife, what would you do if I turned into a monster? Kill you. And I'm not mad about that one bit. I'd be the same way. My daughter killed her one long time ago. What would you do if I turned into a zombie? Kill you? Good. Why? Because it wouldn't be me anymore. Yes, it may look like me, but the vessel's gone. The person's gone. The soul's gone. It's not me anymore. The demon's gone. But, just joking. I know somebody's going to get mad about that, but they'll get over it. And I'm not going to care anyway. But that's what I would do. Now, that's a whole different story. Mutants probably not. They may happen. You never know with radiation and stuff like that. But it ain't gonna be like zombies and stuff like that. You never know. You never know what can happen. But I'm saying any kind of situation like that, I want my wife to deal with it the way I would want to be dealt with, and that's fine. I understand what has to be done, just like she did. Not everybody's gonna do that though. There's some people who they just can't let go. And they get too attached to somebody to the point where they can't live their own life. And it happens, though. It's hard to tell somebody how to feel about that, though. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and down anybody. But the problem is when it's coming to save my own life, I'm sorry. You either get rid of them or they need to do their own thing. That's what I would do. You need to go. You need to go do something. I'm not going to kill anybody over that. But if they got us in danger, I might let them do what they got to do. You don't want people who don't know what they're doing around you at all. And there's going to be people, but I don't want to say that, but if you get people you don't know, you're not going to know how to teach them or show them anything. It's good to help people, trust me. But in the end, I'm not trying to be mean, and I know James is going to agree with me. I'm here to survive. For my family to survive. It's great to have friends survive, but people there, want nothing bad, and I can help somebody, I'm going to help them. But if it doesn't happen that way and I have to survive, I'm going to pick my family. I'm going to pick myself. I'm sorry. Selfish as you want to think that is, everybody's going to do that. Now, if I can help somebody and and it saved them, yeah, I would try to help them. I'm not going to let somebody get murdered. But if they're not helping me, that you're on your fucking own. That's just how I feel. And I'm not trying to be mean, but you know what? That's how my belief is. Yeah, I do my own things. I'll help people, my friends and family. Don't get me wrong. I help people. And I try to help people as much as I can. I'm just saying in that kind of situation, I'm only going to help you so much. You're not going to help me. And if you do, then that's a different thing. There's stuff that could happen. I'm not going to sit here and say I wouldn't help anybody because that's fucked up. But in the end, it's going to be me first, just like my family's coming first. And I hope that with 90% of people. There's some people going to try to save the world. I'm going to tell you, in that situation, people are not going to give a fuck. And they're going to kill you or take advantage of you and do what they're going to do. And this is the problem with people. They think the best, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then sometimes you're too gullible. And people know that. And that's why people still have the issues they have in life and all that stuff. And it's nothing bad. It just happens. And there's nothing bad or anything. It's just how people are built. They're built this certain way. They think a certain way. And that's why people, I hate to say it, some people are going to have their demise because they're going to worry about somebody who's going to either screw them, mess up, leave them in the end, just like most people do. I'm sorry to say, just like with a lot of divorces and everything like that, and people who break up, and most people are not going to stick around. Some will. Don't get me wrong. Some will. But most people, if they can get a better situation, are going to do it. And I'm not saying I would. I wouldn't do it. I'm not that kind of person. I don't think James is either. I'm very happy in my life. Some people are so fascinated with money and looks and cars and houses. They don't know how the difference is, and they don't care. They don't care. Trust me. People die all the time over money and drugs and money and power and stuff like that. Drugs, gangs, all that shit happens because of greed and money, and they don't care about you. Trust me, they don't. Murderers and stuff like that. There's some people just don't care. They want to see the world burn, and they don't care about anything else. They either had a hard life, crazy shit happened, bad things happen, and they think they should just take it out on everybody else because that's what their revenge is. They didn't get help, so they're going to take it out on everyone else, or they were just put in that situation where they had to. There's some people who are taught to be murderers and monsters. There's nothing you can do about it. Especially in this situation, they're going to thrive because they're going to be people who are not going to care. They're going to kill you and not care and take whatever you have to survive. And even if they don't need to kill you, maybe they'll take advantage of you. They could. Oh, I don't want to get into what can happen. Bad things can happen. Take advantage of you, your wife. Take your wife, kill you, and just take your wife. And there's nothing you can do. 6 or 7 of them, you can't do nothing. You trusted them, but you let them in your house, and boom, they took care of you. That's what happens still to this day. That's why people get killed. And I'm not saying it's great and funny and it's sad because sometimes these people really have their hearts to try to help somebody, and some people just don't care. They don't have no soul. They don't care. If they do, they just don't care. Everybody's here to make sure they're fine in life. And that's what happens with 90% of people. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody tells me. There's nice people out here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying everybody in the world's messed up and fucked up, but most people only care about themselves. Most people, me. That's why we have the problems we have in this world. We have too many people who think they know and they should be this and they should be that. That's why people who are famous have issues now with people because other people think they should be where they're at. They're better and they're no better, or they're funnier, or they're a better actor, or they can sing better, or they're better sportsmen. And then you find out 99% of them don't know what the fuck they're talking about when the world comes. And that's in paranormal world, we don't even want to get into that. Everybody thinks because they watched a couple of shows on TV, they're some fucking expert on ghosts and they took pictures and stuff. Then when you tell them something, they flip out and get mad. That's why it's kind of like the way we are with the paranormal world. We just don't really get involved in it like as much as everybody else does. We do our show and go home. If I have to help somebody, I'll do it. I'll go and do investigations, but with all the shit that's going on lately, it's kind of disheartening. It gets annoying. I don't want to sit there and argue with people about Zach Baggins and all these fucking shows. I don't care, man. Whatever you want to believe, that's fine. You can't change what people think. It doesn't matter. Even if I proved it, it wouldn't matter. look what's going on. There's people who are arguing about certain things that's true, and they have videos on it, and they still don't want. They want to lie about it. They know they're caught, and they could, or they'll make up an excuse, or they'll just believe it. They're so brainwashed it doesn't matter, and that's happens. There's nothing you can do, and that's what would happen in this kind of world. Say that they killed 90% of the people. We have almost, I think, around 8 billion people. Say that they dropped nukes and killed 7 billion. There's only 1 billion left. 20% of the population's left. Let me do a different scenario. 500 million. 500 million people left. And half of them are sick with radiation. Half of them don't give a fuck. Half the police, most of the police are gone. And the people who want to survive, they survive. The military have them somewhere. Trust me, they have bases and they have stuff. They'll be fine. They will still run the world, certain people, and then that's it. And that's the way it's going to be. You're going to have, and then you're going to have, the gangs are going to run rapid, whatever's left over. You're going to have a crazy non-world, no laws, nothing going on. They'll try. What they do now, I'm going to be honest, all you do is you live in society to a blanket of fakeness and fake protection and false security. And they can help you to a point, but if something really bad happens, we can't control what's going to happen. Only you can. You could do it to a point, but look how much crime's going on. Look how much stuff is going on. They can't control it. They could pretend to make all these laws they want. People don't fucking care about laws. If they cared, then we wouldn't have these issues. Laws are made to be broken, and they always will be. And they tell these people like things are going to change or not. No one's going to care. No, the people are going to do what they want. Trust me on that. Don't think they can't. That's why people keep going in jail. Why do people go in jail all the time? They get stuff in jail. They get weapons. They get phones. And people are so stupid they don't realize you're making it worse. Putting them in jail for 20 years is not 15 years, even less than that, like 2 or 3 years to get out. Of course, look at how they're going to be worse off. They're not allowed to get certain jobs. They can't get their life back on. They're going to run back to whatever problems they were involved in or any drugs or gangs, and they can make money fast. I can't make that money at McDonald's. I can't get a real job. So fuck it. I'm going to go back to do what I was doing. And I hate to say it. It's kind of our own fault. You people fuck up in life, and I get it. Everybody does. I understand if somebody did something horrible, but if they get out and did what they were supposed to do, if you have an issue with that's too bad. That the law ends. But then you can't have them get a job. Of course, they're going to go back to where they were at. They're going to go fucking do dumb shit, and this is why that's what's going to happen here. A lot of these people are going to survive who were in jail and they got out somehow, and fucking the criminals are still going to be there, and there ain't going to be nothing you can do. Just like Fallout, you're just going to have to do what you're going to do. Maybe have a group of people, or, they have those giant fucking suits, and they have a guy and have a squire just like they would. And, they're taking over the old school round of table stuff with King Arthur and stuff like that. But that's kind of cool. I like that. That's like the honor thing. And they're still trying to keep the code going, even in that kind of fucked up world. And there's no laws and rules. People are living up are all sick with radiation and nuclear sickness, and the people who live down in the what do they call them, down in the vaults, they're like, they know how to kill, like they defend, but look at, they let people in thinking and not realizing, and look what happened. I don't want to ruin it if you haven't seen the show, so I'm not going to say too much. That's why I don't want to say too much about the show itself. And that being said, what would you guys do? I would do what I had to do to survive, guys. If I got to take care of some things, people or monsters, I'm going to deal with it. Just how I am. I know James is the same fucking way. We're not going to deal with anything. We're going to deal with shoot and ask questions last in that situation. Maybe not in every situation, but most of it. You got a giant fucking bear like in there when he was attacking the night, that big ass fucking mutated fucking grizzly, and it killed the dude, pretty much. Well, the guy could have saved him, but he didn't really save him. He just let him die because he was an asshole. And I kind of get it. Probably would kind of do the same thing. He was always running his mouth and talking shit, and the guy was always helping him. He's all, well, you fucked up and ran. Well, too bad. You wanted to be a prick. Some of these guys, they think they're better. And like come to find out, the guy, he tried to be nice to the guy that used to pick on him, and like I said, and you saw what happened. If you guys saw the show, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't want to get into too much detail because I know a lot of people haven't seen it, so I don't want to ruin certain parts of the movie. But I'll tell you, the games, pretty much, if you play the games, it's pretty much going by the show. It's not 100%, but it's pretty good. I'm really surprised. I like how they made the show. It's really good. I'm enjoying every minute of it. I've always liked to follow it anyway because remember they started off, it was like the future, but it was still like in the 60s setting, kind of 50ish, 60s. I think it's 50ish, but 60s maybe. And then they end up getting out in these vaults 200-300 years later, and the world's still fucked up, and it's a great show, man. I know they're doing a season 2. I know they're going to probably do a 3 and probably more. I'd love to see a movie. That would be great, kind of showing what happened. They kind of showed at the beginning, and if you play the games, you kind of know, but it would be kind of cool if they made like a prequel to it to show you what would all happen. But I'd give it a 9.8 out of 10. Game of Thrones got 9.9 out of 10. Only reason because the ending, it really pissed me off. And how they did the girl, they made her like this big character, and look what happened. It was just stupid. That part irritated. Breaking Bad's almost perfect. I give that a 10 out of 10. The Army, the Evil Ash versus the Evil Dead, I give that a 9.9 out of 10. The only reason was that it didn't get another couple seasons, but it was pretty damn close to a 10. Cobra Kai, I give it a 97 out of 10. I love that show, and it's an 80s thing. What else? The Last of Us. Because we are doing about movies, and we're going to do this more often. I'm giving a little bit of reviews. The Last of Us is, I give that a 98 out of 100. The last couple shows kind of, actually, I'm going to give it a 98.5 out of 100. It's pretty good. Mandalorian, 9.7 out of 10. And that's because of the last series. The last season, I didn't really care for it. But overall, it's a really great show. I'm just giving a few out there so you guys know what I'm talking about. But I think Breaking Bad was almost perfect. I loved how it ended. I didn't like the movie. The movie was like, it was what it was. Better Call Saul was all right. I give it about a 9.4 out of 10. Think it could have been better. But it was a good show. Not quite Breaking Bad. And that's just opinion. Sons of Anarchy, 9.8 out of 10. And the crazy thing, I haven't really watched a lot of the Mayans, so I have to see that, but I know it's a good show. I'm going to start watching that soon, because I just got Hulu, so I haven't watched the show. I haven't got get to see the new Mayan shows. I know people, and Shogun, I want to watch that next. It's supposed to be really good, but Fallout, the reason why me and James are big fans of the games, and Borderlands, and Mad Max. And Mad Max is kind of cool because it's like, they still are like cops, but then you show why he kind of goes south on that. They tried to do some kind of police, and it just did not work. Kind of like what you would see with the Knights, it'd probably be more in like certain government kind of things like that. I could see that happening. But even that falling apart at the end, because there's people just greedy. Or it could go the opposite way. They kind of like God, what was that show? What the heck is it? Hunger Games and Battle Royale, kind of like that, where you have to do a tribute and give up the youngest warriors and see who survives. That would be a crazy ass. That's another one we could do about show. That's crazy. Kind of like Squid Game. Well, Squid Game's a little bit different. You had to do games or survive and stuff like that, but like different games. But kind of like that, like Battle Royale. The whole argument with that, if you guys seen Battle Royale 1 and 2, they said that's where he stole the idea. The person who wrote the book stole the idea from, and there's some of the truth on that. If you watch those, you'll understand where the Hunger Games came. It's just Japanese. I think it was a Japanese movie. I think it was Japanese. I don't know if it was. Yeah, I think it was. And I like extreme gore and extreme violence, and they make some of the best movies. Japanese, the Korean movies, Indonesian movies, great, crazy movies. And I really love extreme horror. Can't wait till Terrifier 3 comes out. It's supposed to, they're saying it's going to piss people off. The guy got a big budget now. He's saying this is going to shock people because the second one went there. It's going to go over that. And I know they're making 2 Evil Dead spin-offs. I know they're making another movie and a spin-off. That's going to be interesting. And I heard they were trying to do the Evil Dead series season 4, but it's going to be anime. I don't know. We'll see. I hope they do it. I would rather them do it. But, you know, he is going to be 60. I think in the day after my birthday, I turned 46. I think he's going to be 56. Not 56, 66. So he's a year younger than my mom. Yeah, he's going to be 66, Bruce Campbell. He's my favorite actor, guys. So I know you guys seen him in Army of Darkness and Bubba Hotep and all that. And I think he's a great actor. One of the best actors of all time. So underrated. Big fan of Raimi, too. That's my favorite series, the Evil Dead series. But that being said, the whole Fallout, you guys can check it out, see it. It's a great show. I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, I would have to if I have to, but kind of like Mad Max. And, you know, Waterworld would suck. I know you guys seen that movie. That movie, I think it was very underrated. It just was too long back in the day. I think people like it better now and appreciate it better, but kind of like that. I would love it, but I wouldn't. Because you have people you care about, and that becomes, and you have to worry about them. And you don't worry about yourself too much, but you got to worry about the people you love. And that's just how life is. There's nothing you can do about it. You love somebody, you love somebody. You can't change how you feel, and you're going to protect them with even giving up your life. So, you know, that kind of situations, I would probably be an asshole. Kind of like some of those people are. You got to survive, man. Your family has to survive. Friends or whoever group of people you're with. Maybe, like I said, some of these people get in groups and clubs and in their own kind of biker gang kind of stuff and cliques and stuff like that. You probably have to. You have to survive. Maybe make it another town or something like that. You have to just get with the right people that you've known for a long time, because even then, somebody could betray you. Some people are cowards, man. When they're in a bad situation, they'll run or take off on you. But that being said, let us know what you think in the comments. Tell us if you watched the shows or played the games or anything like that. We love to hear from you guys. We love you guys. So remember that. That being said, James, go ahead. It's your turn, brother. Love you.
Thank you, brother. Old boy brought up some interesting points. But I want to kind of start breaking this down. First of all, in any kind of post-apocalyptic type scenario, or just an emergency scenario, first you have to determine what kind of emergency you're in. What has happened? What's the situation? Is it a nuclear catastrophe where you have to worry about radiation, fallout, that kind of thing? Is it some sort of pandemic or epidemic that you have to worry about, some kind of viral outbreak that could get you? Is it simply that there's been a massive explosion, like an eruption? Mount St. Helens, great example, something like that. But even bigger, something like Yellowstone. That'd be a hell of a big one. Okay, so that's the first thing. You have to figure out what has happened, and that's going to determine what your next steps are. If it's something like radiation or fallout, then obviously you need to find a way to be safe in that environment. You're going to want to try to limit your time outdoors. You're going to want to, best case scenario, find some kind of underground system that you can exist in for the most part. You might think, well, who the hell has underground bunkers that you can just go into anywhere? That's kind of a non-starter. But if you're in any city, you're talking subway tunnels, you're talking the sewers. You know, all of those things are underground tunnels. Now, it's not the perfect solution, but it's better than being up top if you can swing it down there. You're still going to have to go up top to scavenge for food and that kind of stuff, but you want to try to limit your exposure as much as possible. If you're out in the country like I am, you're you're not going to find subway tunnels. You're not going to find sewers, that you can get into, like manhole covers you can climb down. You're not going to find that kind of stuff in any kind of big way. Maybe if you're in town, you might find a little bit of drainage stuff, but it's not anything like what's in the city. It's not going to be that deep. You're not going to be able to exist down there. But if you're anywhere with mountains like I am, then you have cave systems. My area is littered with cave systems, so that's where you want to be, is down in a cave system. You want to make sure you don't get lost, obviously. You want to be able to map your way in and out, make markers so you can find your way, that kind of thing. But that's what you're going to want to do if it's that kind of situation. Now, that may or may not save your life. It depends on how much radiation exposure you've already had, and it depends on how much you have to go out into it in order to get food and water to survive. That brings me to my number one point: prepare. Be ready. You should always have food and water and all that kind of stuff at your house that you can survive on for several months. That's the bare minimum that you want to do. It's also a very good idea to have what's called go bags. And those are just like backpacks, essentially, duffel bags, those kind of things, that are filled with essential supplies. You're going to want to have food in there. You're going to want to have some sort of way to filter water. Okay, you're not going to want to carry a lot of water, a little bit, but not a lot. But you're going to have like a filtration straw. You're going to want to have water purification tablets, like iodine tablets, something like that. You're going to want to have ways to start fire so that you can boil water. You're going to want to have some sort of container that you can boil water in. All of these things are going to be super important. And then as much dehydrated, high calorie food, high nutrient food as you can possibly carry. Okay, you're going to want to have your tools. You got to have stuff to survive. You're going to have a good knife. A slingshot is a great thing. Start practicing now. Get good with a slingshot now, so that if that ever happens, you have one in your go bag and you can hunt. You can kill squirrels and birds and little things like that, so that you can eat. Long term, have yourself a little fishing kit. Okay, they make poles now, telescoping poles that shrink way down, that you can fit in your backpack, and just have line and hooks. You can have a little bit of bait, like rubber worms, that kind of stuff if you want. That never hurts. But you can always just find worms and crickets and stuff like that to fish with. But you got to have the line and you got to have the hooks. All that should be in your go bag. You're going to want to have emergency medical supplies on hand. Things like alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, antibiotic creams, things for like anti-fever medications such as Tylenol. You're going to want to have that. You're going to want to have antibiotics if you can swing them. A great way to do antibiotics, because you need prescriptions for those, is if you go online, you can order fish antibiotics. And the law states that any antibiotic that's run on the same line as human antibiotics must be identical to human antibiotics. So fish antibiotics are made in the same factories by the same companies. So they are identical to human antibiotics. I've ordered many different kinds of antibiotics that are fish antibiotics. They are identical to the pills that you get from your doctor. So that's a way you can do that online with no prescription and have a little stockpile, so that if you get sick or somebody you love gets sick, that you have medication that can help you. That's always a good thing. Have that in your go bag. You don't have to have a trailer full of supplies, but if you have the bare essentials and things that will enable you to purify water, enable you to hunt food, then you're doing good. You can have some steel cable with you for traps. Making easy little noose traps. They're simple. You can have like 550 cord to make on-the-go shelters. A lot of people think that, well, I'll just have some food at my house, and then if something happens, I'll just hang out at my house. That's fine. You can do that until somebody comes for what you have. And if it's just one or two people that come, you might be able to defend your place. But you got to realize that after a couple weeks, a month, people are going to start banding together and they're going to form gangs to be able to take the supplies that they need by force. And just one guy at his house, no matter what kind of arsenal you have, you're not going to hold off a whole gang of people that are motivated to get in there and get what you have. You know, so there might come a situation. I'm not saying leave right away, because if you have a good place that you can defend, that's great. But there might come a situation where you gotta hit the road. You gotta get the hell out of there because they're coming in and you can't stop them anymore. In that case, that's why your go bag is important. You can grab it, throw it on your shoulder, and roll. You got everything you need to survive right on your back. Very important. Okay. In the case of like a viral outbreak of some sort, then you're worried about a contagious disease. So you have to worry about staying the hell away from people. Okay. In that case, something like ivermectin in a medicine pack would be great because that's an antiviral. That'll help you, in that case. But you want to try to stay away from people the best you can. Now, staying away from people is not just for a pandemic type situation, okay? A viral outbreak type situation. That's good advice, period. No matter what the situation is, no matter what the emergency is, staying away from strange people you don't know is a good idea. If you have a small group of your own, a small group of family and friends, people that you know and you trust, that can all work together, that's great. That's more mouths to feed, but it's more people to get supplies. It's more people to farm. It's more people to help defend what you have. So that's always good. But you don't want to just be picking up strays because you start picking up strays, you don't know who those people are. You don't know what their intentions are. For all you know, they're going to take off with half of your supplies in the middle of the night, if you're lucky. They might just take your women too, or kill you in your sleep. You don't know. So you don't want to be picking up stragglers. Those people are on their own. Now, that might not sound like the nicest thing to do, but you got to understand this is not time to be nice. This is time to protect yourself and protect your family. So no matter what the emergency is, no matter why society has broken down, no matter why it is like a Mad Max situation, my number one rule always is stay the hell away from people. Make sure you have the supplies you need. Hunt, fish, stay the hell away from people. Okay? Now, staying away from people also means don't leave a lot of signs that people will be able to look at and say, hey, there's somebody over there. That means if you're holed up in the woods somewhere and you're hiding out and you think I'm doing good, you got your slingshot, you managed to get a squirrel because you've been practicing, and hey, I got a squirrel and I can eat. Now you got to cook the squirrel. So then they see the smoke. Then you're screwed. Because now they know you're over there and they're going to come get you. Okay? You don't want that. If you have to cook something, you're going to want to cook something someplace where the smoke is not going to be noticeable. Okay? And you can use what is called a Dakota fire hole. Now, what a Dakota fire hole is you dig a hole down into the ground. Doesn't have to be super, super deep, maybe 8 inches a foot, something like that, okay? Just deep enough to where there's no flames coming up above the hole because you don't want that. That's going to give you away at night. They're going to be able to see the flicker and the light. You don't want that. You want it low enough in the ground so that they don't see any flames above. You dig the hole down, and then you dig another hole going sideways to the bottom of that hole, okay? And coming up at an angle. So you have your fire hole here, and you have a hole here for air, and that you can feed in fuel for your fire if you want to. You make it just big enough to sit your pot on top of it. So you can start your fire in it, you can sit your pot on top of it and cook. Now, when you cook, you're going to want to wait till the sun goes down to do that. Because at night, they're not seeing the smoke. Okay, any smoke that comes from that hole, they're not going to be able to see. If you do it during the day, they're going to be able to see that smoke. So you want to do it at night, but you want to have it an underground fire so that they cannot see the flicker of that fire. That way nobody knows where you are. Okay, and don't leave your fire burning all night long and all that jazz. Just have it going long enough to cook what you got to cook, boil what you got to boil, and then put it out. And you can put it out simply by saving the dirt that you took out of that hole and shoveling it right back on top of it. It's that easy. And the fire will go out. Okay? The reason I say that is because fire, even if it's hidden, has a certain smell. Everybody knows what a campfire smells like. So if they're patrolling the area trying to find you and they have that smell in the air, they can say, somebody's burning something over here. We can smell a fire. They're going to start searching. You don't want that. Okay? It's all about being as stealthy and as quiet as possible. You want to survive. You want to do what you got to do, but you don't want to draw attention to yourself. Okay? Very, very important. Next thing I would tell you, always, 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 always boil any water that you're going to drink. That's not water that you brought yourself in a bottle that you know is okay. Any water you get out of a river, a pond, a stream, anything like that, you're going to want to definitely boil that water. Now, if you brought water purification tablets, if you brought water filtering systems, stuff like that, some of that stuff you can use without boiling it. But to be on the safe side, I would still boil it, even if you use those other things. Because remember, you're in a situation where society is broken down. So you're in a situation where you can't just go to the hospital if you get sick. So you're going to want to be very careful and you're going to want to be very sure of everything you do. Okay, when it comes to wild edibles, any meat that you get, whether it's fish or whether you're able to get bird or squirrel or rabbit or something like that, anything that you get, cook it well done. Okay, this isn't the time to be gourmet. This isn't the time to do medium rare. You're going to want to burn it. You're going to want it charcoal almost before you eat it to make sure that any parasites that are in that wild meat are definitely done for before you ingest them. That's so important because once again, you cannot get sick. If you get sick, you're in a world of hurt because there's no doctors. There's no hospital to go to. Not only that, but if you get sick, that makes you weak and you can't move like you need to move. So if somebody does find you, you're in trouble because you can't get away. Okay? So we don't want to get sick. We don't want to cut ourselves. We don't want to fall and break our ankle or anything stupid like that. Move slow, move careful, move quiet, and watch what the hell you're doing. Okay? Make sure that the people that you're with know how to shut the hell up. This isn't the time to have that dumbass that every group has that just runs their mouth constantly and yells and screams and all that bullshit. You don't need that. You need quiet. Not only to save your butt from people who might be looking for you, but also because if somebody's running their mouth the whole time, you ain't going to get nothing to eat. There's not going to be any game to kill because it'll hear you coming a mile away and it'll be gone. So you're going to move as quiet as you can, as easily as you can. If you're in a process of going in and looting places, little grocery stores, houses, stuff like that, to try to get supplies and get food, canned goods, always take because they're going to be good for a long, long time. The perishable stuff, I wouldn't bother taking it with me that much unless it's good and you can carry it. But that kind of stuff, I would eat most of that right there where I'm at the moment. Just grab and grub. Take it, whatever. Because the best place to carry food and water is inside you. Because that way it can do good for you. Okay? So if you got like a loaf of bread, you find some fruit, that kind of stuff, and just eat it. Because it's going to go bad fairly quickly. Especially when you start shoving it in your pack. Because then it's going to get hot. Because you're hiking, you're moving. It's inside of either a nylon or cotton or something like that bag. So it's going to be a lot hotter in that bag than it would have been sitting on the shelf it was on. So trust me, it's going to go bad a lot quicker than it would normally go bad. So anything perishable like that, either eat it then, grab it and eat it quick, or don't bother taking it. It's going to take up room. It's going to weigh you down. It's not going to be your friend. Now, if you don't have any other food, then take it. But if there's canned goods and dried goods you can take, dried beans, dried rice, that kind of stuff, uh, that's all great. The best thing is canned goods, believe it or not, because dry beans, dry rice, if it rains and you're out in it, now all of a sudden your dried goods are not so dry and they get wet and then they can go bad. But even if you have canned goods sitting out in the rain, they're still going to be in the can. They're going to be good to eat. Okay? So canned goods are your friend. Take every bit of that you can find, anything you can carry, because that food is going to last and it's going to do you good. Your main priorities in any kind of emergency survival situation. Number one priority is don't get dead. Okay? So depending on what kind of situation it is, if it's radiation, stay underground if you can. If it's some kind of viral outbreak, stay the hell away from people. Okay? If it's just a collapse of civilization, then still stay the hell away from people. Be careful. Watch what you're doing. Don't get hurt. Don't poison yourself. Don't eat wild edibles you don't know what they are because you think it looks like something that might be edible. Don't do that because you're going to end up dead. Remember, rule number one, don't get dead. Okay? That's the most important rule. Number two, water. That is your top priority as far as supplies go, water. You can only survive 3 days, they say, without water. Now, I say 3 days is too damn long because I've been somebody who's been out surviving in the swamps and surviving in the mountains and all over the world. Okay? I've done survival stuff. And I can tell you it's not 3 days. Yes, technically, probably you won't die till the third day. But after the first day, you've got headaches that are just kicking your butt. So bad that it's hard to even move anymore. It is horrible. By the end of the first day, going into the second day, you are projectile vomiting everywhere. And then you're just dry heaving like crazy because there's nothing left to come up. But you're so sick on your stomach, your head is pounding, you are getting delirious. Partway through the second day, you can't even get up out of bed anymore. You're literally just laying there and you feel like you're dying. Okay? So really, you got 1 day. You can only really go 1 full day without water before it really, really starts affecting you in negative ways. Not just, hey, I'm a little thirsty, but I can't think straight. 1, because this headache is pounding. 2, because I'm so sick. And 3, just because I can't make sense of anything. Nothing makes sense anymore. That's what happens to you when you get too dehydrated. It's not good. You know, depending on your activity level, if you're hiking and trying to get away from something, so you're really moving and exerting yourself, 1 day you're already at the point of vomiting and very, very sick. At the point where it's going to be very hard to rehydrate yourself without IVs and stuff like that. And remember, no hospitals. So in order to not get dead, rule number 1, don't get dead. In order not to get dead, make sure that you hydrate yourself. That's the most important one of your supplies is water. Okay? Food is important, but food is nowhere near as important as water because you can go 3 months without eating before you die. But you can't make it 3 days without water. You know, it's that important. That's why I told you in the beginning, make sure you have ways to start fire because you're going to need to boil water. Make sure that you have supplies to carry water and to boil water in. You know, everything you do should be focused on get water, get food, find shelter, be quiet. Get water, get food, find shelter, be quiet. That's it. Over and over again. Every time you see somebody, you're going to want to go, hey, hey, because that's the natural instinct. Because you want other people, hey, help me, I'm in a bad situation, right? But that could be the worst mistake you make. It's much better to be prepared to have the tools you need to survive, and then stay out of sight. Because here's what's going to happen. In the first week, it's going to be complete chaos. In the first week, you're going to have people freaking out because a lot of people today, most people today are soft as hell. They have no idea how to actually survive. So if they can't go to the store and get food and water, they're screwed. Okay, so in the first couple days, everybody's going to hit the markets. They're going to be looting everything in sight. They're going to be fighting in the street over food. You don't want to be in that mess. You want to have a small amount of food and water that you can survive on while all that crap takes place. Okay, because they're going to be fighting and hurting each other over it. Within the first week, probably 75 to 80% of people will be dead. Either from the fights over the food and water, or simply because they dehydrate and die because they cannot get good water. Or they run and they start drinking out of a river or stream because they're so thirsty, but they don't boil the water first. So now they have Giardia or one of a dozen other nasty little bugs that'll just take you out. So they're going to spend their last couple days projectile vomiting and having massive explosive diarrhea that's going to further dehydrate them. And then they're going to be gone. Okay, so if you have enough food and water to get past the first couple weeks, then about 80% of the threats are going to be gone. It's going to work itself out. What's going to be left after that is going to be small groups of very, very scary people that have banded together to try to survive. And they're not going to have the survival skills to survive on their own. That's why they banded together. So they're not going to be like, okay, we're going to start a farm, and then you guys are going to do this, and you guys are going to do. That's not the way it's going to work. They're going to be roaming around looking for stuff. And if they see smoke coming from your house, they'll say, hey, they got a fire going in there. Let's go see what they got. Because trust me, they're going to every house, and they're going to be kicking the door in, and they're going to be taking anything they can find inside that house. And if they know you're in the house, they're not just going to walk right up to the door and kick it in. They're going to be a little sneakier about it. But they're coming in, and they're taking what you have. And the only way you're going to stop them is you're going to have to fight for it. So then you have to be able to keep an eye out and see them coming and say, can I take these guys? Or they're just too many. You have to be able to make that decision and make it fast. Because the window of time that you have when you see them coming to get the hell out of Dodge before they get in there, or at least surround the place so you can't leave, is a very small window. So you got to have your head on a swivel. You got to be paying attention. You don't want to get trapped. Okay? These people will take what you have. Best case scenario, they come in, they take what you have, and they leave. And you're left alive. But that's the best case scenario. In that case, all your supplies are now gone. Now you're trying to go out and find food and water and everything with nothing. Now you're in a tough spot. Especially if you're not a survival person. If you don't have the skill set to enable you to be able to hunt and fish and trap and know what you can eat, what you can't eat, what's going to hurt you. If you don't know how to build a fire and you don't know how to boil water properly, I know that sounds stupid because everybody can boil water, right? It's not a complicated thing. You just turn your stove on and burn it. But what if there's no stove? Now you got to set up a fire. But you got to set up a fire that's stable enough to boil your water on. Do you know how to build a tripod to hang your water from to boil it? Do you even have a pot to do that? Or are you going to be trying to sit it on the fire to do it? If that's the case, you got to learn how to construct a fire properly that's stable enough to sit a pot on, so the pot doesn't fall over and spill, putting out your fire and ruining your water. A lot of stuff. What you want to do if you want to sit your pot in your fire is you want to get a hot fire. You want to have a lot of wood on it, a real hot fire. let it burn down to coals, set it on the coals. They'll still have enough heat to get that water boiling, but you won't have to worry about it tipping over as easily. Okay, but remember in this situation, you don't really want to have a big, big fire and burn it down to coals because you don't want a lot of smoke and you don't want those people to go see it. So you're going to be using a little fire hole, like I said earlier. In that case, it's a little bit easier because you can just sit it right on the ground. But either way you go, there's a skill set that you have to learn. You have to understand how to make that work. Okay? You also don't want a whole lot of flame hitting your pan. You want the heat, but you don't want the actual flame because that's going to wear your pan out. Not the first time, but eventually it'll wear your pan out. And that's not what we want. There's a lot of information that you need. And if you don't have that information and you're forced to try to survive on your own with no supplies in a hostile world, you're in big trouble. Okay? Now, will you be able to hide forever? No. No, you won't. If you're really, really good and you really, really know what you're doing, then you can get away for a while. And you might even be able to get away long term. Because think about the fact that most of the people are going to be concentrating in the population centers simply because that's where all the food is. That's where the stores are. That's where the Walmarts are. That's where the grocery stores are. That's where the 7-Elevens and stuff like that are, the Sheets. That's where you're going to find the food and the water and all that kind of supplies that are easy that you can just grab and grub. That's where people are going to be. They're going to be hitting the grocery stores. They're going to be hitting the pharmacies. They're going to be hitting the Walmarts and sporting goods stores to get ammunition and all that kind of stuff. That's what they're going to be doing. So if you are versed in survival and you know how to survive in the woods, if you grab as much as you can take and head up to the woods right away, get far, far away from cities and towns and far, far away from people, then you got a shot. And if you know how to live out there and you can survive, you can hunt and fish and live in the wilderness, then you could possibly survive long term. But eventually those people are going to run out of supplies in the city. And when that happens, they're going to be making their way out to the country to try to get more supplies. And eventually they're going to have to start growing food and hunting food in order to keep surviving. Now, best case scenario, what you want is to be able to survive for a couple months until things get back to normal. Because in most cases, there will be some semblance of government that comes back after a little while. If you can survive 2 or 3 months and not get dead, rule number one, don't get dead. If you cannot get dead, then you got a shot of making it. But what if it's not one of those good situations? What if the governments don't come back? Or what if the government that does come back is not good? What if it's one of these warlords that has a gang of people that is just trying to hoard all the supplies? And so what if they take over? Then what are you going to do? You can either go and try to join them and live off of less and less and less until you start fighting amongst each other for supplies, or you can try to make it on your own. There's very few good choices in this situation. There's a whole lot of bad ones. Okay? So what would an actual post-apocalyptic situation really look like? It would look like that. It would suck. The idea in movies that you're going to have all these people driving around and it's going to be like Mad Max or something like that where they're driving around and fighting and look me, I'm shooting my guns, all that might happen in the beginning, but it's not going to last because gasoline is not going to be easy to come by. And you might say, well, there's gas stations everywhere. Yeah, but once the power goes out, how are you getting that shit out of the ground? How are you getting it out? It's not like you can go pump it by hand. You can pull the thing up and press the little nozzle, but nothing's coming out of it because there's no power. So there's nothing to pump that gas out of the ground. So you're going to have to figure out how to get through the concrete to that tank to get the gas out. Most people aren't going to be able to do that. Most people have no idea what's waiting for them on the other side of a situation like that. Most likely what you'll have is people riding horses again or riding bicycles, stuff like that after a while. It'll be muscle power or animal power. It won't be gasoline. It just won't, because we won't be able to refine it. We won't be able to get it out of the ground at the gas station because the power is not going to stay on. Very quickly we're going to be transported back in time to the 1800s again, before electricity. And if you don't have the knowledge to survive in a primitive environment, it's not going to be a good time, And even if you have the knowledge to survive in a primitive environment like I do, I can hunt, I can fish, I can trap, I can build shelters, I can make my own knives and tools from rock. I can, do flint knapping. I know how to do those things. But even for me, it's not going to be a great time because you're constantly having to watch your back. And it's not just you. What about the people you love? Old boy brought that up earlier. That's a great point. I could be the best in the world at surviving, but I got a family I got to bring. What if they're not? That's a bunch of dead weight you're dragging. And I don't mean that in a bad way because I love them and I'll drag them, but that's what it is. You're dragging dead weight. And you got to look out for those people. And they don't know to shut up. They don't know that they have to walk a certain way so they don't make a whole bunch of noise in the woods. Otherwise, everything flies away or runs away and you can't get no dinner. They have no idea. Now, if you're lucky and you grow up in the country, then you can start teaching them. Teach the people you love how to do these things. Take them with you when you go out. That way they have a background amount of knowledge that they can help survive. You should have a plan. Everybody should have a job. Shit hits the fan. Here we go. This person, this person, this person, this person. We're all going to meet at this spot. I want you to bring this. I want you to bring that. I want you to bring this. Everybody has their job. Now we got the camp. We're going to set up camp over here. Your job is to gather firewood. Your job is to get water. Your job is to do this. Your job is to do that. Everybody has a job. If you're organized and you've planned and you're prepared, then you might survive, depending on what the emergency is. Sometimes you won't, People don't understand what it was like before civilization. And when I say civilization, I don't mean like basic civilization. I mean modern civilization. I mean having electricity and hospitals and medicine and all the stuff you need to survive. People take it for granted today because it's so easy. You don't have to worry about where your next meal is coming from. You just go to McDonald's or Burger King or Taco Bell or whatever. Go down to the grocery store and buy whatever you want. Hell, you might not even eat it. You might buy every week. You might buy spinach because you say, you know what, the doctor tells me I need to eat spinach, so I'm going to have spinach. And you'll buy it and you think, I'm going to eat this spinach. It's going to be great. I'm going to get healthy. And you put it in your fridge and you never eat it and it gets all gross and slimy, so you throw it away. And you might do that every week. Think of what a luxury that is. That you have food that you throw away every week, no matter who you are. You got food you throw away. And think that for the majority of our lives as human beings, our history as human beings, that wasn't the case. For the majority of our history, it's been a struggle to feed ourselves. It's been a struggle to get enough calories to survive. Not too long ago, there was just people that would maybe get bread, and that's it. If they got a chunk of bread a day, man, they were happy. That was eating. There's times when you don't even have that. So it's not like it's always been easy like it is now. It used to be very, very hard. And people don't understand that. And once you can't go down the street and get a taco, then what are you going to do? Once all those supplies from the Walmart and the grocery store run out, and you can't find any more because they've already been looted up by everybody else, then what are you going to do? When your kids look at you and say, Daddy, I'm hungry. And their little stomachs are going, making all that noise, right? Then what are you going to do? What if you don't have the skill set to provide for them anymore? You thought you were doing great because maybe you're a banker, maybe you're a lawyer, right? Hey, I make good money. I can give them the best things in life. What if your money doesn't mean anything anymore? What if society breaks down and all of a sudden it doesn't matter how many $100 bills you got in your pocket? Because nobody gives a damn about $100 bills. They'll kill you for a can of peaches, but you could have $10,000 in your pocket. They don't even bother with it. They don't want it because it's useless. It doesn't help you survive. You can't buy nothing with it anymore. Then what are you going to do? So my advice to you, I've said it before on a lot of these shows, grow some damn food. Learn how to farm. Learn how to grow your own food. Learn how to dehydrate. It's simple. You can literally buy a little dehydrator for less than $50 at Walmart. Go in the freezer section and buy bags of mixed vegetables, bags of frozen corn, all that kind of stuff, frozen vegetables. Put them on the dehydrator trays and plug it in. And once it's really hard like plastic, it's done. Get it completely dry. Then just put it in a bag. Vacuum seal bag or mason jar. I use the vacuum seal bags because it sucks all the oxygen out. You throw an oxygen absorber in there with it, suck all the oxygen out, throw it in a bucket. Put a lid on it. Now you got a whole bunch of food. If you grow your own food, you can do the same thing. You can dehydrate the food that you grow and build yourself a stockpile. That way you're prepared for emergencies. Make sure your go bag is filled with food and supplies. Make sure every member of your family has a go bag filled with food and supplies. That way, if you do have to leave your home and all your supplies that you've worked so hard building up, you got a little mini version there. Okay? One thing I do, I have several storage buildings at strategic points heading up to my cabin. So if I have to leave my home, I can stop on the way, possibly, at these storage buildings. And each one of these storage buildings has food in it. It has dehydrated goods in it and canned goods in it. So if I have to stop, I can grab as much as I can carry and take with me. Be prepared. Because once something actually happens, it's too late. Okay? Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope it taught you something. I'm going to throw it back over to old boy and get his final sum ups and all that. And then we'll wrap this puppy up. So, old boy, go ahead, brother.
I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We were gone last week. Freaking allergies, man. The weather's still going back and forth here in California. It's starting to warm up a little bit better, but it's supposed to get cold again. So weird. Usually around this time, it's hot as hell. Always check us out on Parax Radio every Sunday night at 12 a.m. Eastern, 9 Pacific. And remember, the show can run over an hour now, and it does. Sometimes an hour and 15, 20 minutes. So it could go later than our hour where we were doing before. So just remember that, guys. Check us out on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Parax Radio. Check us out on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. You can find us anywhere now. That being said, you guys want to buy merchandise, James will tell you where to go. Shirts, hats, all that kind of cool stuff. It's Teespring. staringintotheabyss.com, I think. And if I'm wrong, he'll fix it for you. You can get all kinds of cool stuff. You want to subscribe, go to James Hirsch's YouTube page and subscribe. And why people do that is we've already had the page. We don't have a YouTube page. It's for James. He just puts the shows on there. And that's why it would be we had two different pages. It would be a whole mess. That's why we do it, because somebody asked us. But that being said, I hope you have a good night, guys. It's the first week of May. And have a good night, Misfits, Sugar Ladies, Monster Lovers, Demon Hunters. I fucking love you. And blessed be. Good night, motherfuckers.
Thank you, brother. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope that you learned something. Hope that it made you think, you know. Because a lot of people look at the idea and the term prepper and prepping as some sort of negative thing. You know, they look at it like you're a crazy person. Almost like you're getting all this stuff and you're preparing because you're hoping that society breaks down. Well, in reality, it's the exact opposite. I mean, if society never breaks down and we don't ever have to use all those supplies, great. I mean, that's the best case scenario. You know, awesome. I'm very happy about that. I would say, like, why do you buy house insurance? Why do you buy life insurance? Why do you buy health insurance? In case something happens, so that your family is taken care of. That's why you do it. This is no different. This is just survival insurance. You know, it's in case the worst happens, that your family will be okay, or at least as close to okay as you can be in the situation. That's why you do it. And let's say that society never breaks down. Let's say that, you know, best case scenario, nothing ever happens. Cool. But what if something does? What if you have a blizzard and you're snowed in for a week? Then what? What if you didn't make it to the store before the snow came? Or what if you went to the store, but there's 100 other people there trying to buy bread and milk and eggs and all that stuff that everybody buys before the snow, and the idiots are throwing 50 loaves of bread in their cart, and now there's no bread for you. So now what are you going to do? There's nothing to have, you know? And that's happened before. You know, when big storms and stuff come, man, people come and clear the shelves. Wouldn't it be better to just know that you had a bunch of stuff at the house, that you don't even have to deal with going and fighting those crowds to try to get those supplies, because you got everything you need already? So when the snow comes, you can just kick your feet up and watch, you know, a movie marathon or something with your kids and just chill. Because you know you got plenty of food. You're not going to have to worry about it. You got everything you need. Wouldn't that be better? And that's the more realistic way to look at it. Is there ever going to be a end of civilization moment where you're going to have to live in a Mad Max situation? Maybe, maybe not. But is there ever going to be another snowstorm? Is there ever going to be a tornado or a hurricane? Something like that knocks the power out or shuts down a lot of stuff so you can't go to the store and get no food? Yeah. 100% there's going to be. Is there ever going to be another pandemic type situation like we just went through, to where they shut a lot of stuff down and they tell you can't leave your house? Remember, this last one we went through didn't even have a death rate of not even 1%. It was like 0.005 or something like that percent. It was tiny little death rate. What if you get one that's like 70 or 80%? Because they're working on them. The same lab that leaked that one is working on stuff that's got like a 70% death rate. What if that gets out? What if you got to deal with that? You think it was bad last time. Imagine that. Wouldn't it be better to have the stuff at your house so you don't have to worry about going out? I think so. Just look at it as survival insurance. That's all it is. You know, and it's better to prepare now and never need it than to not prepare, and then you need it. Because then it's too late. And trust me, you do not want to be the guy that's got to look your kids in the face and tell them, I'm sorry. There's no food. You got to go to bed hungry. Because then you got some decisions to make. Are you going to stick with your morals and be a fine, upstanding citizen and not break the law? Or if you know that your buddy down the street there has got some food, are you going to go to his house and take it? Now, ordinarily, you wouldn't do that. You're not the kind of person that would do that. But if your kid ain't ate for 3 days and he's hungry and he's crying himself to sleep every night from the hunger pangs, and you feel like an absolute loser because you can't even feed your children, do you think you'd be that kind of person then? I think so. Then what do? You do whatever the hell you got to do to feed your children. That's what you do. And that's the reality. It's not a romantic situation. It's not. A lot of people romanticize this stuff. A lot of people look at it and go, oh, a zombie apocalypse will be amazing. I think what we could do, we could go do this. It'd be so cool. No, it's not. It's not going to be cool at all. It's going to suck. There's going to be a lot of suffering, a lot of misery. A lot of people are not going to make it. A lot of people that you love are not going to make it. You're going to lose some of them. You're going to lose some of them right in front of your eyes, and you're not going to be able to do a damn thing to stop it. That's the reality of it. You're going to be walking into a world of suck. So the only thing you can do is to get prepared as best as you can. Learn as much as you can. Learn how to survive. Learn how to fight. Learn how to protect yourself. Learn while you can. Because once it happens, it's too late. And if you're not ready, you're a victim. That's the truth of it. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. As always, it's up to you to make up your own mind. I ain't here to tell you what to do. I'm here to give you some information and hopefully educate you a little bit so you can make the right choice. But in the end, it's your choice what you do. I'll catch you on the next one. Till I speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you. And so do I. Bye-bye.